No, I can't remember. That's just my image of it because I don't have any significant memories of CCE.
No, I spent so much time. Do you know I'm so offended, Keith. I'm so offended.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today we have a little special guest. He's from our secondary school. He was my form teacher for 2 years.
Yeah.
Want to introduce yourself?
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Caleb, Mr. Chan to the boys. So I used to teach at do we say the name of the school or no?
Nah, you
We
don't.
don't say the names. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So I used to teach Keith. I was his form teacher and math teacher for 2 years, and Zen was just a guy that hung around.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, it was
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 classes away in a class that nobody cared about, pretty much.
Yeah. So why teacher? Why become a teacher in the first place?
Okay, so there are 2 answers to this, right? So the first answer is obviously a bit of a backstory, like how I became a teacher, and this is probably the more realistic answer. And then there's of course the typical. Can I cuss a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
We don't get
every
So,
our
okay.
previous we
Yeah. So this is other like this bullshit story, right? Where you tell yourself like, oh yeah, I'll tell you that one first. Okay, that one is essentially like, I want to inspire, change lives, and it's partially true, as in like you of. Hopefully, you especially had a form teacher or teacher in secondary school
course.
who inspired you to want to be
course.
better. And I had that teacher. So that is the more bullshitty story, the more like, the more romanticized story.
This was not real.
It's true to a large extent, but I think it was true when I was 18. Like when I was 16, when I was 18, thinking about my career in the future, it was true. Like, yes, I want to do that. I want to impact life. But then when you're 24 and then you think about that, it doesn't matter as much. After going through university, you see what the world is. Yeah. So it's a really interesting question that Keith asked. Yeah. Okay. So the true story is. After my A-levels, I did what every like Singaporean men do. I mean, aside from NS, but every Singaporean person, right? Just go to university, take up a scholarship. The government scholarship is the best. So I just did that, right? I did everything that was on paper right, and I chose teaching because I was 18, thinking about my. What I want to do, you could go to MINDEF, you could go to to do in the foreign affairs, you can go through all these things, but something that really impacts lives is teaching, at least at what I thought at the age of 18, and also because of my personal experience with my form teacher then. So I took up the teaching scholarship and then so on and so forth. I just followed through the path, went to university, studied math, and then went to NIE and then became a teacher. So that is why I started teaching. That's how I started teaching, not why, not necessarily why.
Okay.
How probably answers the question how. That. But of course, when I was a little older, towards when I was graduating, then I was like, dang, I have this scholarship, I have this board, I have to be a teacher. I wanted to, even if I wanted to get out, not that I do, my bosses, not that I do, but even if I did, I couldn't because I had a bond and an obligation to serve a service obligation. Yeah, so that's the story.
So, from what I know, right, you came in when I was Sec 2. You were like a introduction English teacher. That's all I remember.
Yes. So that was a practicum, right? So that is essentially what, as part of I was still a trainee teacher, so I was technically still in school, and basically I was being assessed on my ability to teach, and I was given a grade. So yes, I was actually being tested, much like an exam.
Yeah. Then how's it feel like? Like after that, right? Your first official class was like a class that need to take O levels.
Yeah. So I think it's a really good question. It's that's a tough question. It's both fun and not fun, right? I mean, taking Sec 3 is a good time to start, right? Most schools will be generally kind to new teachers, where you won't give you a Sec 4 class right out from the get-go, because the pressure of O levels is quite strong for most teachers. And you need a while to get used to it. But I guess the school, I appreciated the school trusted me with a new class to take towards the O levels, rather than start from Sec 1, which is fairly typical for beginning teachers, Yeah, did I answer your question?
No, was it like very pressurizing? Because if I were in your position, I wouldn't know like what to do and all that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I didn't even know what I believed in as a teacher in my first 2 years. It's true. As in, I was just, as I was preparing for this podcast, I was just reflecting on my life.
You're welcome.
I thought really hard about what I believed in as a teacher. And to be honest, I teach math, okay, but I could not care any less about math. It's important, no doubt. But I care more about values education. I care more about the students' development.
Yeah.
Rather than just math. I mean, half the stuff that they teach you at O levels. Okay. I probably can't say this. So, you don't need formal education to learn these things. You can learn a lot of these skills through just on-the-job training, right? Yeah, I would think. Can I ask you guys a question? In poly, like, you guys did math, some form of math in poly, right? I'm sure.
No.
Not at all?
I think
if you
maybe like a bit
count, like,
business
accounting.
and
Yeah, okay.
and stuff.
But these things weren't, like, you didn't need O-level math to do those.
No, not even
Right?
close.
I imagine that to be the case.
Yeah, actually no. If O-level maths was like a factor in this, I would have flung polytechnic straight out.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would've threw it
so
out.
so there is, and a large part of the math in secondary school, they do teach larger things like logic. They train your sensitivities to numbers, and I appreciate all these things. All these are the soft stuff that math teaches, lah. But honestly, who needs to prove circle properties?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, except engineers. Like, no. So this is just a personal opinion. Okay, I do not represent the view of the ministry. Okay, this is just a personal opinion.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, really put it in. I don't. But I always struggle with this. In part because I never, and this was really funny. The first time I taught you guys for circle properties was the first time I touched circle properties since after the O levels.
Like your O levels.
Yeah, after my O levels, the first time I touched it, and I was afraid to teach the topic. I remember the first time because I sat down with another teacher, a more senior teacher. I think Miss Seng was around. If you remember Miss Seng. Okay,
Not too sure.
yeah, okay. So I said, Miss Seng, what is this? I don't remember this. Goodness, I mean, I know I'm supposed to know what it is, but I've never taught it because I've never thought about it since my O levels. Yeah, so it was really quite funny. It was a moment where I caught myself when I caught this happening. I was like, oh crap, maybe not everything is super relevant, but that's it. There's a larger principle behind it. It's logic, it's sensitivities to shapes, geometry. These are the softer things that they want to teach you when they taught you math. I think we've digressed actually, but go ahead.
I think for me, like, when it comes to like what you said, like learning about all this, it's good to learn and everything. I think over the years, like from my secondary thinking, like, who's gonna need algebra? Who's gonna need all this bullshit in life?
Okay, well, I disagree with you on algebra, but sure.
No, but like in my head, I was like, these things are useless. Why do I need to learn this if I'm just gonna do like something else in my life? But then, like right now in my current state, I'm like, actually, whatever I've learned, there will always be a point in time I may or may not need this to like help me out, or it's good to know. And you're not learning for the sake of like, oh, I have to learn because the government told me. It's learning for yourself. It's good to learn. It's good to understand. It's good to know more about certain things that you might not understand, but along the lines in the future, if you learn and then you might come back, you might actually just appreciate it in the future.
Okay, let's put a pause at this point, right? I'm sorry, I'm just hijacking this conversation.
Sure.
It's something that I've always asked people, and it's building on Zen's point, right? Where it's just good to learn, and I think what he's trying to say is that it's important to build a broad base at the younger ages, right? So they expose you to a bit of everything, right? So that's why you can notice in Sec 1 and Sec 2, you learn every single subject. And then in Sec 3 and 4, you sort of streamline a little bit more and you go deeper, right?
Yeah.
So you trade the breadth for the depth, right? But if I were to ask the both of you, at the age of, say, 15, what if I didn't give you as much breadth? I gave you more depth. I tell you to choose only certain things. Don't need to learn math. Learn because you're so interested in literature, geography, or for the humanities. Or some people never want to learn the humanities, right? And they just wanna they don't really like that, and they just want to do sciences. If I gave you that choice at the age of 15, do you think you were able to make it?
I don't think we'll make the best choice.
Yeah.
We just make a very snapshot choice based on our feelings that time.
I think I can answer you straight up right now. I already know what I will be thinking when I was like 15. Oh, I don't need to take maths. Oh, very good. I'll just take history, NFS. I'll just take all the things that I like and then go into poly. Maybe let's say, because now I'm like, I don't want to do this career. And then I'll start to think, maybe maths would have been good, maybe learning maths, some maths would have been nice, maybe touching on my English would be better, That's where the regret comes in. Like, I could have learned this last time, I didn't, now I'm screwed, type of like thinking.
Because when you go to poly, you don't really learn, like it's very hands-on, it's more hands-on.
Yeah.
I think one thing they should introduce is like communication skills in secondary school, because I do remember those like there was like presentations like every Friday, I think, like about like the students will just go up and talk. I think that's a very good
Friday?
base to like, is it Friday? I can't remember.
For you, every day.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Poly is every day.
No,
man.
not poly. Secondary school.
Restaurant and culinary operations.
I was in logistic operation.
I just
Management, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I just remember like poly. I know like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate presentations, man. Wow, that's hell. Keith was complaining. Everybody was complaining.
No,
It's like-
no. I like to present. I like to present. It's
No,
part of my skill set.
yeah, true. But the difficulty of like the teammates. Like,
Oh.
sometimes you have to communicate with teammates to what to present. That's where it starts to get hard. It's presenting that part is some people good presenting
So
or
these are
presenters.
soft skills that
Yeah.
that-
It's very important, especially in business school.
A lot of people like some people say, why didn't secondary school teach us this? And like
Is it true that secondary school didn't teach you all these?
Communication skills.
Mm.
I guess. No, these are
Keith, you better answer
if
correctly.
I can't really remember.
Your experiences in council. I mean, Keith was a counselor with me, right?
No.
Wait,
You
no,
went OTR,
no.
would you?
No, yeah, ODL, but I didn't do. I didn't do
Okay,
shit.
sorry, we eventually became like one council and all that stuff.
Oh.
Okay, but minus that, right? Didn't you learn all these things?
No, I learned outside. My mother was like, okay, she told me and my siblings like, okay, you guys have to learn public speaking skills because I didn't have them and I needed them in the workforce. So I'm gonna send you for classes so you guys can speak.
Okay, so this is formal training, lah.
Yeah.
But weren't there opportunities in school, soft curriculum, lah? Okay, I'm not talking about the hard curriculum, like where in your timetable it says communication.
Yeah.
Because that's never going to
I
happen.
don't
lah. It's going to-
remember. No,
it's
I don't
definitely going to
remember.
be embedded into every bit, right?
I think those opportunities that I got, I mostly took. Like I remember like speaking in front of school, presenting some stuff about some story. Then
And yeah, then
The
and we went to was it Hong Kong or Vietnam together?
yeah.
You presented, right? With Akila? Was it you?
Was it? Oh yeah, I think I
It was you with Akila to the Vietnamese school. I think.
Yeah, I presented to the Vietnamese school.
So these are opportunities schools offer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I remember literature. There was a debate competition that I volunteered, just to
I remember
to
that
fight for other
too.
people.
And I guess the pedagogy that Mr. Harish used in lit class is also a lot of sharing your opinions.
Yeah.
And it is a form of public speaking, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
would
Yeah.
have to say, right?
Yeah.
You have to agree.
Yeah.
So to say that it is not... I don't know why I'm in a slightly defensive mood.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
But I do think that maybe we're not so aware of the intentions behind all the... As students, we're not so aware of the intentions behind every lesson design.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is just me being defensive.
Yeah.
Right? I like to think I'm... Yeah. Okay, but go ahead. But maybe you really never learned any from me. So
No, it's not. How to say, because they don't really present as many opportunities to the masses. It's not they have to force everybody to take, but I think, how do I say this? It should be more encouraged, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. I guess...
Yeah, I can see that. Like I know, like of course for me, I was like that gung ho kid, right? Oh, who wants to present? Like, I want. So the opportunity will always be taken up by me. But for other students, like more quiet students, they might want to try, but maybe they just didn't have that initiative or the guts to go. They weren't really being pushed for it in a way. So
Yeah.
maybe like that's what he's trying to say. Like maybe there should have been more opportunities for like more people.
Okay.
Or push.
And to what
towards
scale as well, right? Because we
Yeah.
also definitely don't want, for someone who's a bit more confident, maybe like Zen, then sure, a whole school presentation is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm presenting to foreign schools is also fine, right? I think if you were student leadership president, then there's also probably going to be opportunities to present to the school leaders, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And then smaller students, not smaller students, sorry, smaller scale student presentations can be done in class and all sorts of varying skills for varying confidence levels, I would imagine. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. So, the way you carry yourself as a teacher, right, was you had a very distinctive flair.
Oh,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, nobody would not.
You had a,
like,
you had a
everybody
very,
I knew.
you had a very like standout character that a lot of students adore you for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think like is that the way you really carry it? Not how is this?
Oh, is it
Do you think about how hard you had to like carry yourself, or what image you wanted to show the students when you first came in, or what impression you wanted to give them or you just like I'm gonna be myself and
Okay, so this is a really interesting question because I think the teacher that Keith is referring to, the me in 2016, 2017, 2018,
Yeah.
it's very different from the teacher I became after I took a class.
Oh,
Because
okay.
all
Yeah,
the
that's
mistakes
true.
that I made with his class,
Yeah,
I tried to
experimental.
fix with my next class.
Keith, you're the lab rat.
hey, but it kind of worked, I guess.
In a sense, yes, lah. But you also got the funner part of me, the less calibrated part.
Yeah.
The teacher that's willing to shout really loudly.
Yeah.
And like when I'm mad, I'm really, really mad.
yeah.
And I don't regulate myself. I think I have that reputation.
Oh, yeah.
Right. When I'm pissed.
I remember-
And I'm always pissed with a class for some reason.
No, I mean I don't blame you, to be honest.
You see who's in your class?
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I remember this student, the days where you go to teach, you walk into the classroom and this is like transition between lesson, and then you find him like rolling on the floor. It's our good friend that starts with B. I won't say his
Oh,
name.
okay.
Just rolling on the
Yeah.
floor, and then you're just like, why? And he's like, I'm restless. Like, there are many things you could do if you're restless. Yeah, but it was it was an interesting time, and I think my teacher identity wasn't very strong when I was in my first 2-3 years. It took a while to shape, and in fact, I think some other teachers have came to me and said that it was potentially unprofessional actually, and
really?
I had this my very first year. I was told that because I was very chummy with some students, right? So we had this like secret handshakes and all that kind of stuff with some students. To more traditional teachers, it can be seen as being a bit unprofessional because there is a certain line that you don't cross with students. For them, it's really about touching, like physical touching. But there is also a space and place for comforting the student. But I don't know where that line is. And of course, if we are erring on the side of caution, then of course no touching. But sometimes a pat on the back goes to say like, hey, well done, or I, especially if a student's going through loss, I feel for you.
Yeah.
That kind of connection is important, or a handshake in a very public and open space, of course, also kind of builds a certain rapport, a certain connection. So is there a very clean line? I think the Ministry of Education is saying that sure, it's a very clean line, no touching. But sometimes we teachers make that value judgment on their own to take certain risks, and so to take certain risks. So I don't know. This one probably we should cut out because I feel like I'm setting myself up for failure.
No.
Okay, so okay, wait, but that's the question. Do I really think about how I behave? I think more so in my later years than in my earlier years. So I think the person that you saw in 2016, 2018 is definitely more me than the teacher I became later on. But that's only because I needed to calibrate myself, and also because eventually when you become a middle manager in school, right, like a key person in school, then you are setting a role model for the younger teachers as well, and you're trying to set a certain standard. So I cannot go to another teacher and say that, hey, you are being unprofessional with the student, when I myself am very unprofessional.
Okay, yeah,
So
I
there were
see.
lines to draw and a higher standards to uphold, and I guess they were more traditional standards. I don't know any school that will allow like free flow touching of students. That sounds really weird.
Free flow touch school.
But you know what I mean, right?
Jailbound
Where the
teacher.
lines are completely blurred or completely cancelled. There is no way that there is a professional line, and in my early years I didn't know what that line was. Yeah, I think
I think it just, to me, it felt more authentic.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I also felt like whenever like everybody's talking like, oh, Mr. Chan, I'm like, why can't he teach my class? Like the authentic.
Oh, but I bet I was a shitty teacher. I think I taught math terribly. That's why your math is also terrible.
No, was it? It was. No, okay. I mean, I got what I expected. I'm not sure for the rest. But
Okay.
I think a lot. Like my best friend in secondary school. I'm not gonna mention name, but he was just
Yes, in
setting
your
up
class.
himself for failure.
Who's your friend?
no,
Starts
his
with
name
R.
starts with R. It's a 2-word name. He like,
Is it our
Play-
class?
huh?
Oh,
Yeah,
the-
yeah,
Our class.
Our class. Oh,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, but
Okay.
he himself was setting up for failure.
What do you
Because,
mean by that? Like his
like-
personal boundaries, and he didn't have discipline. Like is that
Yeah,
it?
that cause like when O level was coming out, right, that I think around 4 to 3 months in, I was like, okay, Zen, step out of your bubble. No more cards, no more games. Put everything aside. Let's study. Because if you got your EAE, you want to go into your body of choice. You got to buckle down and actually start studying. I think that was when I set my discipline down and I kept studying. And then that dude, whenever we ask him now, hey, let's go study. Let's go work hard on our maths. Cause at that point that was our weakness. that dude could message me like middle of the night and say, yeah, I cannot. I need to go staycation. That was like 2 months before O-levels. I need to go staycation. My family booked already. I cannot say no. I have to go. You want to come? I'm like, no. I got to study. And then from what I've heard, he went to his uncle's workplace to study. But most of the time, from what I've heard from like like his classmates, so like he's just playing Switch. I'm like, okay, then you're not really studying, are you?
Okay. So what's the point behind this?
No, I'm not saying that. No, like if like some no, I'm just trying to say like if some students were like because you said you felt like you taught them pretty badly.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I'm like I don't really think it's your fault if that's what like some of the students are doing.
But I guess as a sorry, so comfortable. Okay, I guess my response to that, like Zen, is that I always feel that it is my responsibility to push my students beyond what they think they can do. So for students who have certain who lacks discipline, like, let's put it that way, right? Who needed more help with this, having more structure in life. I should have been there. I always think that I should have been there to provide this discipline, at least for the hours that they're in school. And it means doing things like forcing everyone to stay back. Certain students working a deal with the parent that I chaperone them till 6, but from school end, which may 3 o'clock to 6, they're busting their ass off studying, So
home run.
like a mini home run of sorts, right. And for people who don't know, home run is this like after school study program, night study program that the school that we were all part of. They organize for students leading up to their O levels and N levels. It's just a chance to provide space for students to study, especially if they know that they don't have a proper environment at home. But that's one reason, of course. Of course, some people just, when you're distracted at home with younger children, younger siblings, it can get a bit rowdy. So sometimes the school offers this chaperoning service to help kids study better. And of course, the teachers will stay back to help and to provide any sort of consultations and whatnot. Yeah, it's horrible because we have to stay back after like a super long day. Right? The days where you spend more than 13 hours in school, right? It's a bit ridiculous after a while. But I mean, it was like what? It started at like, we reached school at 7 as per normal, and then you stay till like 9 o'clock, right? It's crazy.
I just remember like non-stop being in school for like just hours and just cramming and then asking teachers. Like at that point, like I didn't even care who answered my question as long as it was a teacher who know how to taught that question. I'm happy
but that was essentially a whole school effort already. Yeah. Because at that point, I think most of the staff room knows that this is our Sec 4 students. We probably taught them at some point in our lives. Let's all do the home run together, right? The last leg of the period. Let's all pull our weight. So teachers volunteer. You could see that there's a schedule, and then just whoever is free and available will come out. And that was something that I thought was really nice that my school does. But I'm sure every other school does the same, to some effect, to varying degrees, through varying different ways. Yeah. But maybe a question to ask the audience then what is the balance, right? How much should your teacher be doing for you, or how much discipline should you be enforcing upon yourself when you do that? I don't know. What do you guys think? Tell them. Don't tell me. I will be. After this, I'm not watching this podcast. I'm getting out of this place. Yeah, but let us know what you think. I think that's something that as a teacher I always feel it's a tough call, because at some point you can do so much, and before it just is where your return of investment, your ROI becomes too low, right? Yeah, and then the time could be better spent on another student who is more willing and also just needs to help just as much.
So when you say like, I don't think I thought whatever, I'm like, from what I saw, and then from the person that I know that didn't really take what you were offering.
No, because he like just said he's willing to put in more work in those students that are willing to work on themselves.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why that student that was
I know it's
really
very bad to sound as a teacher, but
it makes sense. It makes sense.
That's part what you did, right?
Yeah, it still makes sense in a way.
I mean, there is a certain allocation of resources that you need. Okay, sorry. There's a certain allocation of resources, right? Because I'm a finite person.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I was infinite, then I could do it. I could solve all problems and help all my students, right? I'm sure every other teacher would say the same, but at some point there's a line to draw, and you just don't know what that line is, and
It's a hard choice.
It is. It's a value judgment every single day with every student. Do you scold them today? Do you not scold them today? I mean, even with your class also, there's some days where I'm not actually angry, but I feel the need to be angry.
Yeah.
So that I draw you, not you, but like the class back to a point where they realize it's time to focus again, or especially you do weird things with your English teacher.
I know. That must be very stressful on you, right? We trained English
I
teacher
remember.
3
I remember
times.
that.
Oh yeah, that was really terrible because I think.
So that's why when you get frustrated all that and angry, right, it's like I completely understand where you're coming from.
No, the best thing was because your English teacher was my form teacher, so my class also knew about it.
That was our last one. She was like, okay, I don't care anymore. You want to do work, you do work. If I don't care if the class noisy, I'm just gonna teach. So.
But she was great. I mean, your class results for English was. I mean, from the prelims, I think we jumped like two grades. So
no, English was the best subject.
Not everything's about UK.
Yeah, not your English. But in general, the class, I was actually pleasantly surprised because most of the class could qualify for poly. At least met the minimum requirement for English for poly.
She's a good.
She's amazing.
You cannot deny that she's a
bit more traditional in methods, but she knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
she knows.
She knows what she's doing. Very experienced.
I just remember our form class was saying she favors Mr. Chan's class. She doesn't like us.
No,
I think sometimes Naughtier classes.
But our class did like barely care. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you like sat in for English class before. It's like
I sat in for the earlier one, the Sec 3 ones. That was terrible.
It's just noise.
He just goes in, can't even hear the
It's just two-way communication with no destination.
Yeah. It was an interesting time. I think that this was clearly a mismatch of expectations about and not to discredit the teacher, because these teachers that came were in their own right excellent teachers. I have to say that because I've seen them with other classes, but it's just the profile of students. Keith's class was a bit more
insane.
Sure.
It's okay, I'll say it for you.
No, I think they are very interactive class.
Yeah.
So if they were subject to a lesson in the English lesson where it's a bit more didactic, where we go through questions types and then we drill and practice, and we approach we will approach it from a more top-down perspective. I think they will not be able to do so. The students will not be able to focus so much. I have to say that for my own class. So I think even in my math lessons also, I think we experimented with a few pedagogies. At the start I tried to be funny so that at least the class will pay attention. But it's just math, right? There's only so much you can do. But then eventually we move on to more group work. I remember I tried that, and that worked for a while until the math became a bit too difficult for even the better students to help with the weaker students. So especially with the later topics. I remember I tried all these things with our class before.
Did it work?
What do you think?
It requires me to have a certain tolerance of noise, of mess, right, in the classroom. And different teachers have different tolerance level, which is fine.
After our class, do you get like a more calmer class? You're like, oh shit, this is not a regular class.
Oh no, goodness. The class that I took after your class was a class that I was also teaching. It was a 4N class, and they were just as crazy, but they were they were fun also in a different way. They were fun. But I had a shorter runway with them, only 1 year. I took them after their form teacher left at the end of Sec 3, so I stepped in to help finish the class because I happened to be teaching them. So they were calmer. No, actually, the school has always given me quite interesting classes. But that's it, right? I realized I like the kind of student, that profile of student. So this year, not this year, and I can't say this because it's a bit too raw, but there was a class that I was teaching fairly recently, not this year because I'm out of school already, fairly recently, that was just really, really quiet, and that was the worst class of my life. They just don't talk, and so you there's no way to check for understanding, right? Like I asked them, hey, do you understand what's going on?
It's like,
Some teachers would love that.
Yeah, some teachers would, but not me. I like you to argue with me. I like you to disagree with me. I like you to point out that I'm wrong. React to stories, react to the pedagogy. So that was really, really comfortable. But I really enjoy teaching like rowdier classes. I enjoy my normal technical classes. I miss them so much. Actually, I really want to see how they're doing after they left. I try to check in with my other teachers who are still teaching to see how they're doing, making sure they're still coming to school, they're still not doing weird shit,
I just imagine like one of the teachers say, oh, this student not doing anything. Then Mr. Chan just standing outside the house. What are you doing? Why not going to school? Then he just drags the person. I'm not going to teacher, so you can't sue me. Just drags him to school. I can imagine that. I don't know why, but I'm like, Mr. Chan would do that. Would he?
No, that's not me.
I think the teaching part, like the environment, like I think I sort of understand in a way, because recently I was like teaching my cousins some of like her subject, because she's doing O-level this year, and
you're teaching her.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Oh shit, is she okay?
She's okay. She got A. Calm down.
In what?
NFS.
Oh, okay, okay,
Not
yeah,
maths.
okay,
Maths.
yeah,
Okay,
okay,
I can't teach maths, but I'm teaching my sister maths. So no, but I was teaching her, and then for some reason, whenever we like normal environment, she's like loud. But when I'm teaching her, right, she's like, I don't want, no, not easy. Then she just keep quiet. I'm like, oh, is this what all the teachers feel like when they teach me? Is this what it feels like? And I'm like, I get so like agitated. I'm like, just do it for like 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, now that's how a teacher feels. Oh, then I felt bad. I'm like, oh, the shit I gave my teachers. That's not good. I'm like, maybe I should apologize.
Yeah, why not? Why reach out to your teachers now? Who taught you math?
Miss Tam.
Oh, right.
I miss her. I keep wanting to go back to like our school. Almost said it out, but I keep wanting to go back to school, but COVID not very nice, eh?
Yeah, and I think the schools are a bit stricter because
Oh yeah, COVID. How do you do with HBL?
Oh.
What was it like? As a very interactive or hands-on teacher, what was it like hell for you?
Oh yeah. Now I think about it, because I'm a hands-on learner, so it was hell for me. So how would it be? For
You had it? Oh, right, in poly, right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Had it for 2 years.
Yeah.
was
Okay.
hell.
Yeah.
I thought I would enjoy it.
I think.
But then I just crash and burn. I'm like, oh no, it's so bad.
It requires you to be a lot more self-disciplined to be able to sit in front
Yeah.
of the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was very, very. I think COVID was a very interesting time. I think as a nation, a lot of the teachers that we have had to move up, had to level up in this e-pedagogy, right? Very, very quickly. And some people are able to run a bit faster, maybe because they are a little tech savvier. Yeah, some people aren't. Some teachers aren't. And for myself, it was a nice break during circuit breaker, as in break in the sense that it's not physically exhausting. You're not always out there, but then you spend a lot more energy ensuring the students are just doing okay in such a tumultuous time, such a difficult time. And we spend a lot more as a school. We spend a lot more time caring about student well-being rather than. Or at least for me, okay, I don't know whether my other colleagues were the same, but I spend a lot more time worrying about the fact that they are just engaged with something productive during that time. Not, I think being cooped up at home can be quite, especially not everyone has such a privilege at such a big house, a lot of space, right? Yeah, I'm not saying that Keith's house is big, though it is, but you can imagine that there are a variety of home situations out there, and therefore we're just very mindful of that. And that's why I think as a school we had opportunities to bring certain students back. These are very, very high need students, and we were able to bring them back under a lot of safety, a lot of we put a lot of care to ensuring that they're still engaged at home. Especially, you can imagine that some students with whose parents are maybe frontline workers, right, and then just essentially no one's at home because the parents are out fighting COVID, and the school steps in to take care of the kids on their behalf, that was that answer. But I'm not answering the question about how difficult it was.
Yeah, for you.
For me, it was. It's so long ago that I don't remember. It got better. Okay, for sure. COVID was 2020, right? 2020.
Is COVID still now?
Yeah. I mean, like sorry. I meant circuit breaker was 2020. Yeah. But in 2021, maybe we do a sort of a backward chronology. In 2021, it was a lot better because I think after circuit breaker, after having some time to settle in, the school became. Not the school, but I, and I'm sure many other teachers became more comfortable with digital, with e-pedagogy, like learning, teaching online, and we were able to use a variety of resources, tools to engage students better. So it's not necessarily just I record a lecture and then you watch. Right? It's through a variety of things. Maybe you do an activity at home and you record it, and then the student submit it or something to that effect, right? So with that, it was. I know I'm still not answering your question at the end. Okay, but let's get to that later. But through that, there was a chance for more interaction, a variety of activities, a variety of experiences for the students at home, and then at least as a teacher watching the students submit their work through, again, digital means, it was more interesting lah. Yeah, okay, so was it difficult? I think it was okay, because by then I became a bit more muted as a teacher.
Oh.
And you had other responsibilities also, lah. So teaching was, while it was important, it was wasn't always my first priority. If I'm being honest, I had other things to worry about. I had to worry about. I took over the student council, so I had to think about how to engage them as well. Had other responsibilities in school as well, like form teachership. Had to support other committees and stuff like that, lah. So yeah.
I see it.
So I know I'm not answering your question whether it's very difficult, but I think the truth is I forgot, lah. This is a long way to say I forgot.
Because in poly you have older teachers,
Okay, go ahead.
and then they're not really they just know how to teach their way. Like go through lecture.
As in, they are more proficient in certain methods, lah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean they have their own way, as in like they just go through lecture, and then we just ask questions, because that's how poly is. There's a lecture, there's a bunch of questions. They in the tutorial they go through the questions, and that's the lesson, and that's for 3 hours. So I remember for one subject, right, like we got results back. Then the teacher's like, "You guys are so garbage that we had no choice but to raise all your grades. If not, almost the whole level have to remod." I mean, that's just the effect on us on the HBO on students.
I remember like for my school, the first time circuit breaker hit, we were getting like pretty good grades. We're like, hey, I can actually go into uni with these grades. And then when like they changed their grading system to be more suited for like HBL, I noticed, oh, my grades are horrendous. Oh no, that's not good. I was like, oh, so maybe they were just being lenient at first because it was the first time thing. You know, it's new. And I'm like,
I think the institutions need some time to reconfigure all these things. But it will be the new normal. Don't you guys think? Like there will be expectations
100%.
Yeah.
You
I can
expected
see
to have a mix of.
I can see a lot of like modules or some modules either having half or just go full to HBL.
No, especially last year. In the last year, because my course doesn't have a lot of like hands-on stuff, so it was basically all HBL except for like one class that we go for like 2 hours a week. But this teacher didn't really teach. That's the thing. He was there. He was an entrepreneur, and he was just there to like talk for 2 hours. And then
You want to hear my new business model? And he's just there.
no, it's not that. He just
not even that.
He'll ask one question about entrepreneurship. Then he'll ask a opinion from every student, and that's the class. Then he'll say, oh, from my experience, this is blah blah blah. Then for the assignments, right, he just give us the criteria. And it's like, okay, they explain a bit. And it's like, okay, this is what the school want. I'm not actually hired by the school, so I mean I'm not actually like a full-time teacher. I'm just here to be here. Then that's our class.
Yeah, I think what you gave, the authenticity, a lot of poly like that. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. It's like he said. It's just
No, it depends. Some students like the lecturers a lot.
Oh, yeah
I
lah.
personally, I didn't connect with anybody because
I did better in classes that were like more like what your style. Yeah. So like those teachers that I was closer with, my grades were better. And those that I just sit behind the computer and just listen to them talk, I'm like.
I mean, to be fair, as you go
dig
in
down.
the higher institutions, it's
Yeah,
you're more independent already. So
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of things
true.
come to yourself. And the teacher is caring for like what, 200 plus 70, 50
Yeah.
students. Like, so I mean, we can't expect them to care for all of them. Yeah.
Definitely.
Honestly, I kind of miss the secondary school that the teacher and student bond.
that a lot. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and since our school is so small, right, like at the time, I think our cohort was like 70, 80 people only.
Yeah.
Like around there.
The hall was pretty big, but I think the school at that point was like maybe 700 strong. So small.
Yeah. So then that made it a bit more close, I guess. Yeah, a bit more
I
tight.
think if you go back to the school today, you will not see that so much, because the school has really grown in the last few years. Yeah, I think
no more fear of merger.
No, I think we missed the boat, but we were always afraid, of course. But we saw a very healthy population growth in the past few years. I think the last I checked, I mean, at least the last I was there was 1,000 strong, which is I mean, it's a big increase from 700.
Canteen must be packed.
Oh yeah, and the
I can imagine that.
And can you imagine the canteen, and then you have all these safe management measures, the 1 meter safe distancing. Yeah, so actually, if you gone back, you know the foyer, the area outside the general office, and then the area outside the HOD room, they were filled with like tables for students to sit.
Oh my god.
And no choice. And you know even the area where the trophies were.
Yeah.
The whole area was also filled up with tables. Yeah, because we just needed to space things out.
Wow. must have felt like a proud moment, but oh my god, it was a mess. I can see that.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, we managed. We just managed lah, right? Yeah.
Then what are some of your okay, when you get frustrated, let's say with a class or whatever, are you more frustrated with yourself or the students? Don't need your PR answer.
Okay.
Yeah, we like the authentic. But if you want to sprinkle in some PI, it's fine.
This is interesting. It really depends. Because sometimes there are days where I teach poorly, and I know it's me, and that's when I get really frustrated. Especially particularly if I didn't prepare for lessons. So maybe I'm rushing another project somewhere, or maybe I have just a bunch of other work that just took my focus away, right? And I go into class, and then I teach poorly, and when I do teach poorly, the students don't understand, and then I get frustrated because they don't understand, they're not learning and not hitting the outcomes. Then I get frustrated at myself lah. So I generally don't get frustrated with students if they don't understand. If they don't understand, that's why I'm the teacher, right? I'm supposed to be teaching. They're supposed to be learning from me, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm doing if they are not understanding, then it's obviously the teacher who's not teaching well, lah, right? But then if there's a bunch of other things that are there, even, okay, maybe as an extension of this point, even if they were distracted by genuine matters that maybe they carry in from home, then as a teacher, again, it is my job to help push away these matters, lah. At least, given that I personally believe a lot in student development, right? Helping them to separate their emotions from home and their emotions in school, and to be able to draw lines, like a professional personal line, right, so to speak, student version of that. I really believe that it was my job to help them do that. So there are times where you needed to call students out, not publicly, like bring them out of the classroom and speak to them. Why are you so distracted today? You know, what's on your mind? And then they will just share, and then you can use the opportunity to either allow them to fester. You can find a way to find the best way to help them to step out of that situation, lah. At least while in school, at the very least, before we can, because sometimes problems just cannot be solved, right? If your parents are arguing way into the night, and then you're carrying the emotion from their argument into school, then there's nothing you can do about stopping your parents from arguing, right? But what you can do is you can control your emotions. At least that's what I believe of my students. So there are times where you can do that. But then if I'm frustrated as a student, but I didn't go through the extra step with him to help him or her separate the emotions, then it's on me again, clearly on me, right? So there are some things that are just really clearly on the teacher. And I know in the terms of reference, right, what is my duty, then if I don't do those things well, I get vexed at myself. But there's some days that it's just I recall certain days in your class. I just don't get why some people just don't do certain things. I don't know how to describe it. Like rolling on the floor. I mean, I think about him and rolling on the floor. I don't get it. And then there are things where, like, for example, that same student, he also, though I think I recently saw him, he's a lot fitter now, but he was very unhealthy back then, right? So he would be drinking 1.5 liter bottles of Coke in his bag. It was hilarious.
I remember during like there was this period of time, I don't know why, no apparent reason, after class, like after school, and then when like students could leave, everybody would just bring like 1.5 liters of like soda, like drinks, and then just start chugging. I'm like, why?
That happened at school?
Yeah, there was a period of time where everybody did that. I'm like, why are you all doing all that? I'm like,
why do I not recall?
Yeah, no, in my class there were a lot of people doing that. I'm like, why are you all bringing on like 1.5 liters?
Yeah, clearly, poorly run class. I'm kidding. No, but anyway, so there's some things where. This
cannot fathom.
You cannot. That's a really good way. You cannot fathom what's going on, and then you get vexed. Yeah,
fair enough.
I think it's just our different values. Different values between people.
I think when you're young, you don't really think much. You just do. Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, like rolling on the floor, chugging 1.5 liter. Like, you don't really think, oh, diabetes, what's that? You just, this tastes so good. That's the mindset. You get what I mean?
I remember one time, like, you were coming to class, then like I think my friend he just like stand behind the dustbin there. They just come and scare you. They just come and scare you for no reason. Then you got like you got damn pissed. Yeah.
I don't remember.
You're like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this?
I can see him like, just, what's wrong with you? Just going, what's wrong? But okay, I got a question for myself. Like, let's say if, like, if you were to ever meet a student that just doesn't listen, like just doesn't even care, how would you as a teacher handle it? Because if let's say the student just doesn't care, at that point would you like try your best to still help when you still have other teachers like students to cater towards, right? So how would you handle this?
This is a tough one. Usually if I know that at some point like, there's no progress, then clearly I will stop. I'm not stupid enough to put my eggs into a sinking hole for now. But the hope is that when the student's ready, then you must be ready. And that's where the struggle is for a lot of us, a lot of teachers. And I struggle with this myself also. Sometimes, we always tell ourselves, wait for the student to be ready. And then when they come to you, then you must be ready to provide the support that they need. But sometimes when that happens, it's a little too late. And then like, can't say really, what's the point? Go find somebody else. That you struggle with thoughts. I struggle with those thoughts. And not just those thoughts, right? And they were very real because it happens every year. I mean, every year with graduating students, especially.
Yeah.
Like there's this like
always
hugging the Buddha's feet at the last moment. Not that I'm Buddha, right? But,
Yeah.
it happens every year, and you think very hard about how to optimize your resource, which is you. And at the point also, I think, truth be told, we also have other things to do. My teaching and learning, the teaching is not always everything that is on my plate at the moment, and I have to be very fair about that. I mean, especially when you go further up the school, you get different appointments in school, you do different things, you see different things, and you have to balance all these things, right? So the hope is, of course, that your teaching standard is really of a certain level, so that, if you had to make judgment calls on these things, at least the student learning will not be compromised, where you have to reprioritize. So I think last time, for every lesson every 1 hour lesson, I spent easily about an hour and a half of prep just to go through that one lesson with you guys. But then eventually, the more experience I got, maybe half an hour eventually. Some days I don't prepare at all because I'm just so familiar with this certain lesson. I mean, the preparation is not that I don't prepare as in don't print the worksheet but I don't have to sit down and go through the whole process in my head all through again. Yeah, but when I was teaching your class, I had to draw how I want the whiteboard to look like every step of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did every single panel of the whiteboard. I had to write for myself so that when you guys look at the whiteboard, it makes sense. Even if you weren't even listening, you were just blindly copying. I wanted it to be a situation where you were able to look at the notes that you've written and it made sense to you. Yeah, that was then but eventually I stopped doing that because it was too time consuming.
At the time, I have no point.
No I just trusted my intuitive, the tacit skills that I learned. Last time I had to think about every single thing. So experience if your class, every time you learn something was the first time I was teaching something. You have to remember that.
Oh yeah,
because you were my first class. So every single thing. Every math equation I wrote on the board was the first time I've written that math equation on the board in my life.
It's not bad.
That's actually pretty amazing.
It's not bad
about it.
So, but eventually, of course, after teaching a few cycles, then I've done it. So then my worksheets, the questions will still be relevant at some point, unless there's massive syllabus change. Seldom there is lah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
but regardless, if you think back about it, you learn it that day, then you formulate the best way to write it onto the whiteboard, and then you go to class and then you teach these newbies yourself, and wow, that's
yeah. And then if they don't listen, right, it was a bad lesson for whatever reason, the class was messy. It'll be quite vexing. You spend an hour and a half preparing for
that's true.
That you only spend 50 minutes teaching because you spend.
Now I see why teachers would shout. That makes sense now.
Some days, and I think there are days where I also, just now we talk about the personal, professional lines, right? There are days where, as a teacher, I'm human, right? Sorry.
I don't know. You do you not mic stand?
Yeah, because it's very comfortable.
Okay, wait. Okay.
We're back because I have a bad habit of not.
You have ADHD.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, makes sense. That's good.
So I empathize with students who do, because focus is really difficult for me.
Yeah.
That's it. What were we talking about before this?
I'm not sure.
Oh, professional personal divide, right?
Yeah.
So there are days where I think, and I'm sure every teacher goes through this, right? Where you are probably having an issue somewhere else, not necessarily with the class that you're teaching, and you bring those issues into class, right?
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay, yeah, and you bring those issues into class, and that is really unfortunate that it does. But in our defense, if we're only human,
That's true.
These are
Yeah.
Nobody's
inexcusable. And I think
perfect.
I've apologized to your class several times. I don't know if you remember where I am probably upset with some other class and I take it out in your class.
No, I
or
don't
was
remember.
It, okay? Or maybe then I was apologizing to other classes because I was upset with your class and I took it out.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That makes more sense to me.
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe it's possible, yeah. Because I think I taught your class and then the next class after
Yeah.
us, the C2 class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were quite nice. Yeah, so it's probably it's probably I brought anger from yours.
Keith.
It's not Keith, like, for sure it's not Keith. I assure you it's not Keith. His class had many very interesting characters.
Yeah.
I know it's not Keith. I just like disturb him.
No, because I was gonna ask you also whether like how do you strive for like a work-life balance as a teacher?
What a difficult question to ask, and this is something that this is interesting. As a teacher, right? So it's
Yeah.
not now. I think the answer in 2016, 2017, 2018 was very different from the 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And in fact, the 21 me was
Because you got
really even
you got
different.
married, right? Like
Yeah,
recently.
2019.
Yeah,
Yeah.
congrats.
So I think
Congrats.
before I got married in 2019. So I think before marriage, there was no need for work-life balance. I was able to commit a lot of myself to my students, and I mean, I also had ambition. I mean, I wanted to climb up the teaching fraternity, lah, right? So I was willing to work my ass off for it. That's one. But then as I got married, then I think it became a bit different because I had to take care. I had responsibilities at home now, right? I have to be a husband. Okay, I'm not a father, so that's great. But I had to be a husband at the very least, lah, right? I can't always just be Mr. Chan, the teacher. I had to,
Yeah.
at some point, I had to draw a line, and I had to be a son to my parents on the weekends and whatever not, you know. So how do I draw the line? That's a good question. I think it differs from teacher to teacher, but for me, it generally is I cut off work at maybe I end work at 6, 7, right? 6-ish. Then you at 7 you go for dinner, then you take a break until 10, and then you start again. Yeah. Then when you say start again, you do more easier things to do like marking, things that don't require a lot of serious, super heavy thinking, lah, right? Not that marking is important; it's very important. But after a while, it gets easier to mark. yeah. So
Same
so
mistake.
that's what you do. And then on the weekends, you try to carve out one day at the very least. But then this is, of course, this is me, like, this is, of course, I enjoy working. I enjoy contributing to my school, to the work. But of course, different people have different requirements. I know I really take my hat off to teachers with young children. I don't know how they find all these things, lah. And I'm sure they would say that their work productivity has dropped once they have children. And I think it's fair. And
Yeah,
rightfully so. They
definitely,
should not work so hard
Yeah.
now that they have other responsibilities,
Yeah.
lah. Right. Yeah. But work-life balance, tough one. I think as a nation, we are thinking about this issue, lah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's true.
Recently, it popped up from what I saw.
Yeah, in the COS debates, right? The Committee of Supply debates in Parliament recently, there were a lot of questions about it, and they're talking about hard cap on teachers' hours. The idea is I think it was raised by Dr. Wan Rizal. I think it was by him. I can't remember, but
I just read the article.
yeah,
Just like,
but it was
okay.
like, setting a limit, right? Setting a limit to how many hours a teacher should be working. But the Minister for Education, he did say something along the lines of that's not a feasible strategy, only because teachers choose how much they want to invest in their students, right?
That's also true.
That's also true.
You
right?
can't deny that, because
So,
like home run the situation, you do choose to like stay back to teach sometimes.
so there's a lot of
remedial.
teacher autonomy in this aspect as well, lah. I don't know. I don't have a clean answer. It's a tough question, Keith. This one is probably should cut out. Too difficult to answer.
But as a teacher, talking about the timing, it's more about because I think all teachers have passion, right, to teach for students.
Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, there's some baseline.
There has to
there's
be
some baseline. Okay,
fire
there's
passion.
some baseline. Yeah.
Some baseline passion. I think that will contribute a bit to the amount of hours they work in a way.
Okay. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I think that kind of helps with the work-life balance. I know some teachers like in poly. I contact them like maybe after
And they draw a line.
7, and then this like
No,
you cannot.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I
you-
give
we
you really
respect
can't
that
get-
line.
I respect your life, but my GPA. No, I
I remember during the assignment, like before our submission assignment, one of my teachers like, whoever message me after 10, you can kiss your summer goodbye. I'm not helping. I'm like, okay, okay, that's respectable, but
Yeah, but I do think some of these lines are good. I tend not to reply students after 8 o'clock as well.
Yeah, I mean, all about you. It's
It's
up
but
to
I
you.
do. It doesn't mean we stop working. Like, we just do
Yeah,
other
yeah,
work.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
not student interaction.
Yeah. And then everybody have a battery of how much they can interact with people.
Yeah, precisely.
There's a limit to how much you can.
But it's a
just
tough
keep
question.
teaching.
I think if we can ask the audiences again, right? If they
How
what
do
they
you
feel is the
manage? What's the perfect work-life balance?
the-
50-50?
My question was different from his. But
Oh, what was the question? My bad. My bad. What's the question? I got confused.
Oh right. Oh, it's my okay. No, I was just wondering, like, what do you think the line for teachers should be,
okay.
right?
Oh, the line.
Well, what is that balance? You can ask them. I'm curious also. I don't know. Different teachers, different lines, lah.
Think
Different
as
borders,
you-
boundaries.
I think teaching is very interesting though. Like I always have the inclination to teach. Like
Oh, that's wonderful.
like people like around me, and also I almost got a job, a part time to do
Didn't you
to
teach?
teach piano.
Yeah.
Teach piano. I think I learned piano last 2 years only. Like during COVID.
Wow.
But then I didn't get a job because NS coming. I don't know how long I can commit. They found somebody that can commit longer. But then I have a friend there, and she's like, because it's primary school kids. She's like, no, it's crazy. You drive yourself insane if you teach primary school kids. You'll lose your mind. You shouldn't be here. It's hell. It's hell on earth. Yeah. So, but I have been teaching here and there, like piano. But I'm teaching mostly adults. Adults can follow instructions like better. So, I can kind of empathize with.
So after
I
2
can
years of
empathize with
learning the
better.
piano, you can teach the piano.
Yeah, because COVID nothing to do. I practice like 8 hours a day. During COVID, I just play piano only. Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, no, it's a bit scam one. It's scam. I can teach absolute beginners, of course, but as the level goes up, then of
So
course
what's your
not.
grade now? Do you have a grade? Do you take
No,
exams?
but I'm taking grade 8.
Oh, you are taking. Wow, in 2 years you're taking grade 8.
I'm taking grade 8. Yeah.
Oh shit! Like people take forever to get that.
No, because I thought I do a bit of research. They said a reasonable adult is like 2 years.
Oh.
So it's around there, depending on how much work you put in.
I threw everything I learned out the window.
Oh, but that's fairly impressive though. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, so I can kind of empathize, but teaching quite fun actually. Teaching is quite fun,
Yeah.
and especially I can empathize with your lesson plan thing. Actually, I can't. I don't plan anything. They gave me like slides. Then I was like, okay, fine. I'll just freestyle.
I think the planning part, when I was teaching my cousin, I was like, okay, what should we get? I need to think about what she sucks at or what she can like improve on. And I'm like looking at like the 10-year series. I'm like, maybe this. And then I'm like thinking of how to explain it to her. Sometimes it might work for me, and it might not work for her. I'm like, how am I going to teach if I myself can't even teach in another way? And I'm like frustrated at that. I'm like, that's the tough part, because it suits you doesn't mean it always suits another person. That's where it hits. So I'm like, yeah, actually, how do you teach someone if something like just doesn't hit anymore? Like this method doesn't work, then how do you teach another method if you yourself don't even understand that method? Does that make sense?
No.
Like,
Wait, do you understand this question?
do you understand?
Maybe it's like, but I think you kind of answered this already. Like you said, you were experimenting on like how to.
Something like that.
The best
Something
way
like
to
that.
stuff.
But if let's say like you experiment, but then
It still didn't work. You try again, lah.
no, like the
So it's
best method
experiment.
is a method that you're not familiar with.
Then you just learn, lah.
Okay, fair
Okay,
enough.
so maybe this is.
Just get good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, yes.
Grind.
Yes, as in, I think teachers are, if anything, teachers are first learners.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot expect to teach learners if you don't learn yourself.
Yeah.
Lah. You have to learn their quirks, you have to learn
Yeah.
their what works for them. So they spend a lot of time learning and unlearning. There are always better ways to teach certain things, new ways to teach certain things, you know. I think woe to the teacher who knows one method, lah, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where I figure out, like that's why I started to understand like, okay, teaching truly is like the jack of all trades. You must learn everything, you must master, you must try to understand. I'm like,
This is a great recruitment video for everyone.
yeah,
No, but it's true.
Yeah.
I think if you really enjoy learning, if you really enjoy trying new things, it helps. I don't. I have to say I don't, because I get bored very quickly. Again, I like to do new things
Yeah.
rather than the same thing better.
So do you have like a mantra or something like that?
A mantra for
No, I
teaching?
mean, because I had my chemistry teacher.
Okay.
She always said, don't memorize, understand. Then he drilled that into us. Then her way of teaching was we have our own because science is a bit more informational.
Right.
So we have our own notebooks. She forced us to make our own notebooks. She don't care how it looks like. It can look like shit. You can draw like shit. You can put whatever inside, as long as the content is there. And it's legible for her to read. So
There are criteria.
so she checked, and it's like, okay, you're missing this bit of information in your notes and all that, but it's very personalized. And then because of that notebook, right, that she forced us to make, right, I understood like of chemistry. I remember during prelims, I almost got everything correct. Like in every question, I can tell you why this is not the answer, why this is the answer, just because of that. That's just the way she drew into us, just the way she teach. That's like her mantra. Like, do you have something similar?
I think
No.
No. Okay.
okay.
I don't know. I think, okay. Well, definitely. You're talking about the senior teacher who.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's a goddess when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
to teaching.
yeah.
I think no one beats her. Lost to the fraternity when she chose to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do I have a similar? I think I don't want you all to memorize math too. Ideally.
No, don't memorize math.
Yeah, there's nothing to memorize.
I
Just
tried.
to understand the
It's
broad
hell.
methods, to
It's
understand
hell.
why. Those are really important. But I don't. I think it's more important. My mantra to myself then is I don't teach math. I teach students. You know, it's very cheesy. I think one of our is really very cheesy. But
I thought that was cool. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. But no, yeah, I don't. I think I spent a lot of time talking to you guys about values,
Yeah.
about stories. I think math was, I mean, only towards the end, then
Yeah.
because of O-level prep,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
we focused a bit more. But Sec 3 year, we talked a lot in class, we tell stories, we shared, spent a lot more time outside the classroom than inside the
One time you bring us just like run one round because we saw like we were tired.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, that was
the
really-
guys just go and run.
Oh yeah, I remember like I was like in like
But
maths.
they enjoyed it. For some reason, they enjoyed it. It was weird.
Yeah,
It was really weird.
all masochists.
I was like just sitting there in my class because mine was at the window and I'm like I just looked out the window and I saw like the whole group running. I'm like, what are they doing? Are they doing PE or
No,
maths?
but it was probably a very, like, it was after lunch, and it was a hot day.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you guys so tired, okay, let's go run.
Yeah, and we just did a run around the school.
I think
It helped, right? Actually,
Yeah.
it really did.
Yeah,
I really remember it
yeah.
helped.
Yeah.
It was a...
oh,
We did a lot of weird things in class. Was it your class that we did a lesson on interracial marriages? Was it? I did it.
That was
For
that.
CCE?
I don't think so.
No.
No, it was, definitely.
CC is not real. It's not real class.
I taught CCE! Shut up! I valued it. I loved it so much.
Really? But CC was always like, I remember CC was just like chasing shit. It's just like, today I got complaint from here. You guys do this wrong.
That's how I started CCE lesson.
No, I can't remember. That's just my image of it because I don't have any significant memories of CC.
No, I spent so much time. Do you know I'm so offended. Keith. I'm so offended.
I like how you can like insult his maths class. Yeah, true. I suck at that. But when it comes to CC, if you're like,
No,
I
because
don't remember anything.
He's a development type of person.
Yeah, that's why I'm offended because I value CCE lessons so much.
That's why he's cheesecake.
I value it so freaking much. It was. I mean, okay. To be fair, when you were Sec 3, I wasn't so proficient at it. I was really struggling. But I think Sec 4, I really spent a lot of time. I remember because I felt that you guys were more mature, and you guys were willing to. I remember we had people like yourself, people like even in our class, right?
Yeah.
Even were willing to share their perspectives of life, right? And I think all these things were very wonderful. Should I not have named them?
May or may not
No,
have to.
I mean, I can censor.
Yeah, I'll just send you the
I
file.
don't remember sharing anything.
But we talked about a lot. Remember we did this lesson. It was a really fun lesson on Ben Davis, right? Do you remember the Ben Davis lesson?
Oh yeah.
I still
No,
joke
I
about
remember
that.
Ben Davis, but
You don't remember the lesson? Horrible.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was really, really cool. Like we did this thing about
We're, like,
whether
fabricating
should we
memories.
allow Ben Davis to to be exempt, not exempt, or to defer his national
did you bring that
service.
into our class? Because I swear I remember I had this talk with
But I
somebody.
shared it with a lot of teachers. Like, it was a very fun lesson.
Oh,
So
I
it's
think-
very
I think
possible that
so.
we shared it.
I think
and
so.
People,
Because I'm like,
people adopted that.
because when you
lesson.
said that,
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
like,
now that you say
does that
it,
sound
I
familiar?
kind of
I roll my eyes at you.
remember.
But we had this lesson also. I combined with 4C4 in Miss Nasrin's class.
Oh, it sounds like hell.
And then we did a lesson on like interracial marriages. No. I brought Mr. Amal into the class one day, and we did a lesson on interracial marriages.
Could it be my?
No, you didn't.
You're obviously a useless student.
I'm not in your class. Don't look at me.
I don't remember if something so significant as bringing another teacher come in to talk about such an important subject. I would definitely remember.
I definitely did it.
Maybe not our class.
I only teach CC
Come
to
on,
2 classes
Keith.
in my life. It's either your class or my other 4N class. But it's unlikely that I was more... It's possible? It's possible that I brought Mr. Amal in also at that point, but
No,
I'm
but
fairly sure I brought it to your class.
I think
I
it's
was
your
more
class.
experimental with your class.
I think it's your class because it, for some reason, I had the impression of this topic. I'm not sure about whether
Like-
Mr. Chan came into our class and talked about it, but this topic was very familiar. Like, I just remember something about
Useless.
I just don't remember CCE.
I'm offended. I actually genuinely offended.
Sorry.
that. The first half, he's like, yeah, you could say anything.
I don't give a shit if you don't remember my math lesson.
No, okay. I mean, okay, let me blame society because from young CCE, nobody cared about CCE.
I care.
Yeah,
I had fun.
Yes, and that is a point that I am personally, I take personal. Not take personal, but rather I realize that with such students, like they don't see it as important, but in fact it is possibly the most important thing to.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I mean, I see it now.
Yeah.
I see now. You grow up and you see more things, more
because
perspectives.
at the age where introducing you, I felt that it was important to introduce you to concepts that would be relevant for your generation.
Yeah.
Like, concepts like interracial marriages.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that we grow up in traditional homes. Not everybody. Who even my parents were very traditional. Right. My dad sometimes makes the offhand racist remark, and I don't fault it. As in, it's his fault. Clearly, he shouldn't have. But I can understand why it's so ingrained in him because of the way he was brought up. Right. To make such a comment.
Yeah.
But it's very important to be able to look past this. My wife is Filipino, and I had to walk a journey with my parents to help them realize this as well, lah. You know, to help them realize that it's perfectly normal. And it was very personal to me, and that's why I'm very sure I brought it with you. I taught your class because it was personal to me. Mr. Amal and I relate on this ground, so because Mr. Amal is in an interracial marriage as well. Okay, so the fact that you don't remember it very offended people. Whoever's watching from my class, I hope you remember this. If you do, please text me and tell me that I wasn't shitting myself. Okay? And then at the same time, send Keith a horrible message telling him he's a useless person. Thanks, people who watch this video.
I'll just send him tonight.
Yeah. And I hope you also remember the class that we did with 4C, we did 4C4, the other class, on, I like to think it's, I think it was a lesson on dating towards marriage or just dating for
God. No, you didn't remember that?
No, because
Sex ed, is it?
No, dating.
I'm not allowed to just sex ed.
Dating.
Oh, wait, no,
and
no,
4C1
you're not.
and 4C4 is very drama.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
why
there
I
was
did it.
so much
Because it was
drama.
funny. It was funny. I mean, aside from the fact that it was funny,
Dating and
so
then everybody
drama.
just laughs. Oh, the drama was so insane.
So drama. I swear, at some point, 4C1 and 4C4 hated each other. We had like. At some point, I swear.
Didn't you have a girlfriend from the
each
class
other,
then?
huh?
Didn't you date somebody from the class?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. No, I think some other people from our class so what.
Yeah, a bunch of people. So.
The best thing is I can just laugh at everything because I know everybody are just sitting there eating my popcorn.
We all broke up. The thing is, we all broke up. Then after that, I feel like I can remember
Love
like
isn't real.
Miss Nasrin in the class.
We were
That
in
means-
E202.
Yeah, that means it happened. That means it happened. Because I remember her walking, and I remember like, I remember we have a lot of weird shit with 4C4.
Yeah. Because and it just so happens that we had a lot of interaction with 4C4 as a class because Miss Nasri and I are table buddies. So, and then we both teach the same level.
that would make
So
sense.
whenever I have an idea, whenever she has an idea, we talk about it. And
Because
then most of the time we
this.
just say, let's do it together lah. Why not? What's wrong?
Oh, your class is fun, man. Your class had so many things just
I remember,
going on.
I remember there's another lesson that I did. I can't remember what also, but I got into trouble for doing it. Yeah, because I think it was and this is probably not. I said, okay, it wasn't like real trouble per se, lah, but I was questioned about my intentions behind it. Yeah, but it was a lesson on sex ed, sexual
Yeah, I
education.
swear you taught our class sex ed.
I didn't. I'm not allowed to teach sex ed. As in, okay, that you need to go through a course in order to teach sexual
I think you were
education.
there because I had.
No,
a
it's
talk with
possible that I
everyone.
sat there and as a chaperone, right? But it's not clearly I was not the teacher in charge of that lesson.
Yeah, you're not in charge,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
talked about something. I'm like,
Something like that.
I was like, I
Probably
remember.
share some perspectives.
Yeah. Oh, I enjoyed CC for me. I love CC for some reason. I just sit there. I'm like, oh, finally something that is not maths.
Then he doesn't like it because it's good. He just like it because he can off his brain.
I don't off my brain. I listen. I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Cause it's not maths, and I learn. And then I think to this day, I like having talks about these type of things with
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
they're very important because it's about values at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, what do you believe in?
Yeah.
And it's important to start thinking early.
Yeah.
I think rather than
Education. Study.
be a mindless drone.
Yeah.
And then let society shape it. You should take a stand. Like have an opinion. There are many issues to think about, right? I mean, there's today. I think recently 377A came up again in Parliament, right? Legalizing. So that's one possibility to think about. There are many opinions out in the world that you need to take a stand on, lah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think that's what it means to be a productive member of society.
Yeah, of
To
course.
be
Of course.
able to do this and to exercise your vote.
Don't be a-
properly.
don't
we had
be
a
a
lesson
yes
on
man.
voting, right?
What?
I remember I did a lesson on what the heck is democracy the best way.
You know,
to
if I could go back in time, I'd just tell Zen to just sneak to your class every time you had CCE. I'm like,
I'm sure I did that.
I
There's a
swear
lesson.
You're making things up.
I am not making this up. I clearly remember that I had a lesson on whether democracy is the best way forward.
Keith.
Oh, what?
These are such fun topics. Why are you not listening?
What 16-year-old would know what democracy is? Not like, I will understand, like, be
But
able
that was
to
the point. The point is that you didn't understand it. They're 42, right?
Oh, I remember after O
Please tell me
levels-
one lesson
One
you
CC
remember.
lesson.
One lesson
Come
you
on.
remember.
I cannot. No, I remember
People from my class then, please tell me one lesson you remember, aside from those that I mentioned.
I'll just cut this part, put in the Instagram, and then let everybody
Now you
see.
talk about politics. 1 year after 1 year after O levels, like before I went to poly, I went. You know what's a MUN?
Yeah, Model United Nations.
Yeah. So
You participated in MUN?
my tuition center had an interview to go to this MUN organized by Harvard.
Okay.
But I didn't care about the MUN. I just saw Harvard, San Francisco, Hilton Hotel. Then I was like, okay, let's go. Then I go for the interview. They were looking for like people with like leadership skills and stuff like that. And I somehow got selected lah. Then I posted I got selected. Then some guy from my tuition class, I thought he was my friend. Then he just said he said something like, "Wow, Keith, I didn't know you're actually smart." Then I'm like, okay, bro, what's that mean? Okay, anyway, I went for the MUN. I didn't prepare because I didn't care. I didn't know what was going on. I just go there. And then it's just like a bunch of white people like shouting at each other, pretending to be politicians. Then I just like vote based on my moral compass. I mean, now politics to me is fun to like
Talk about?
joke about.
Joke about.
Yeah, because some things just damn stupid. Especially since the American political landscape is so dramatized.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
hilarious.
It's so anti people. But then when American criticize the American government, right, they're like, oh, this sucks. But then when you criticize, like, they're like, oh, America's the best. We get to hold guns. So when I
But it's,
reflect
not,
back,
it's a bit unfair to say America's like that, lah, because America is very polarized. Lah.
Yeah.
It's so polarized. I
Yeah.
mean, if you ask somebody in the South versus somebody in the West Coast or somebody in the East Coast, completely different answers.
Yeah,
It's huge.
I mean, okay, everybody I met there was like quite. I mean, it's not like I talked to a lot of people, but
The Harvard, they're probably quite
reasonable
liberal, lah, right? I imagine if it was organized.
no, it's organized by Harvard.
organized
but,
by Harvard.
Most of the people are like high schoolers. They send like a team there.
Okay.
Yeah, so well, then they use me for marketing to market the tuition center
Oh.
because I said what I said in the interview was they had like a reflection interview thing. What I said in the interview was I didn't know the content very much, so I decided not to speak so much. But they cut I didn't know the content well. So they just say I didn't speak too much because I wasn't confident. But then all I said was I didn't speak too much because I was confident and shy. No, I was not confident. Then they make it seem like because they put me through that program, right? Like then suddenly I could speak very well. Like in the span of 2 days. I suddenly can like enunciate. then my public speaking teacher saw that video. Then she's like, what's this? What's this? You should have just said my name.
Oh my god! They actually just cut it out of context.
Yeah. But I wouldn't go for another one. I would.
Really? Okay.
Different world.
Different
But
world.
I understand
Don't even know
more
what's
about
going on.
perspectives lah.
Yeah. Okay.
And this kind of thing should be taught in CCE.
Man, yeah, but yeah, actually, apparently, the new principal of the school that we at is trying to send a team to for Man.
Oh, for real? Oh, that.
Yeah, he is.
That'll be-
And
that'll be
in fact, I think
hilarious.
Mr. Amao is in charge of it.
I think can I go back to secondary school? I don't know, listen to every CC class now. It's so fun. These sort of things I love to hear for some reason.
I think CCE is off our brains.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
For you, I am just like vibing and
Because
listening
a
to
lot of the
everything.
times, they just use CCE to like clear whatever forms you have.
Oh, yeah,
Unfortunately,
that's true.
unfortunately, that is what happens
That's true.
too.
Yeah.
That is a sad and an unfortunate.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I remember our CC just being like,
Yeah, that
the
is true.
usual CC just shut off the
Yeah.
brain,
And
shout,
it's-
run, give up your homework.
So do you think CC lessons are important?
Yeah, I think CCE is
feel
important.
it's very important because like
And
a lot
what
of
more do you
people-
want in CC lessons? Maybe we can ask you all this. What more do you want in your CC is citizenship and character and citizenship education. It also both is about character and your citizenship. So issues that are like pertinent to being Singaporean or
I think maybe if CCE was like taught more, then maybe students won't feel like school is just like doing maths, doing science.
I mean, there's a balance, right?
Because I think the priority is like to get that ticket to go to your
Yeah.
tertiary education, right? That's where the pressure's on. So I would understand why.
But you have like at least 1 hour of CC.
1 hour a
week.
week, I think.
At
And
the
then
very least.
maybe it's like the students just like off their brain.
And then you have assembly, which is sometimes changed into CC lessons.
Yeah, but
I mean,
not all teachers feel that CCE can talk this. Some just use it to teach more subjects.
And it depends on. I hope they don't. I hope they don't use it to teach, like, let's say for example, use CC to teach math, for example.
Yeah.
I hope they don't, because that's obviously it's weird, right? You don't take math lesson to teach Chinese. It's the same thing as you're supposed to teach something. There's a certain objective for this lesson, and there's time carved out for the students. But I think what I caught from what you're saying is that some teachers have different teachers have different comfort levels and different different competencies, right? The ability to facilitate lessons a certain way, to run a certain type of lesson.
I'm starting like I don't know whether it's like false memories or whatever. I'm starting to like remember some
Yeah,
shit.
because all my lessons, we never said, it was never a frontal lesson. We always sit in groups and ask you, go argue on this issue, then you tell me what you think after that. That's always my style. And I love doing that. I just put you all in groups, and then I ask a really like difficult question.
If you all have fun, huh?
And then
You
on this
all-
issue, and then after that, you're just discussing your group, and then you come tell me at the end of the day. And I always use that. Then sometimes the horseshoe thing, where I actually we push the tables aside, then we stand in a big U shape.
Oh,
See?
Right? And then where you stand
that's physical.
Huh?
I remember physical stuff more.
Okay lah. Yeah. Okay. So but these were just very example because where you stand, then after that I get you to share your opinion, right? Or maybe I put 4 corners in the classroom and then like strongly agree, disagree, or whatever.
God.
Right? Then you go to different corners, and then from there, the point is you are just still answering the question. We're still trying to figure out what the value is. And at the end of the day, I think I always say the same thing, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever your value is, your value lah. You can stand by it.
Also,
you stand
that's
by
why
it.
your class is always like in circles or the tables are always shifting.
That's
Okay,
also
that makes
partly,
sense.
like, because sometimes after that it's literature. Then like Mr. Harris like, okay, 13
No,
seconds
no,
to get
like-
the hell out of my
like,
class.
like in the morning, like I see, cause sometimes go toilet, I'm like, why is Mrs. Chan in a circle with like the entire class? It looks like some sort of cult meeting. Like, what's going on?
Okay, now it's coming back. It's coming back.
But that is
coming
what I
back.
believed in.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear your voice.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, not yours specifically, but that every individual. Even if you don't have a chance to speak in class, where you stand tells me your value, shares with me your.
That's good.
perspective.
That's good.
Yeah,
You-
obviously.
No. Do you know what? Like, do you
I
know
hate this
the
guy so much. That's good. That's good.
do you know the description of like the description of people saying they're like a NPC character?
Yeah. Non-playable.
Like no,
Like they're just there.
If like some things they just don't perceive, like especially like the values that whatever you speak of, they have no opinion. They just follow what
Okay.
society tells them to. I think
Yeah.
because of that.
As in, sorry, what's your question?
No, I feel like I feel kind of sad for them, to be honest.
Right.
That they don't have that ability to.
But
think for
I think there's
themselves.
different maturity levels. Like,
Yeah,
I felt
yeah.
like with your class, we were able to do these things more. Maybe because I just I dared to do it. I tried. I wanted to try. It's something that I resonated with.
Sorry.
So I did it. Yeah, he should be. Yeah, he should be. And yeah, but again, different teachers have different comfort levels, lah.
Yeah.
You know, and they are afraid that students will be in that position, right, where they don't have value. But I truly believe that everybody has an opinion about an issue, lah.
Yeah.
It's just whether you have
Dare
thought
to
about it,
voice.
whether you A, had the opportunity to think about it, right, or B, when you're given the opportunity to think about it, you actually thought about it, and see whether you are convinced by your own opinion. You know, it could be a value that you grew up with, maybe because your family's traditional a certain way, or maybe because you came from a certain religious group and they said that you must do X because the holy book says you do X, right? But do you actually question it and form your own opinion? I'm not saying that you should question your religion. I'm just saying that you should have your own opinion independently of these things, lah.
Do you think students are put off when they get into these kind of discussions, but they feel like they don't have the sufficient knowledge or background to
This is
participate?
excellent, and because 16-year-olds will never have enough knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 32 this year.
Yeah.
I don't have enough knowledge about
Yeah.
every situation, every value that I believe in. But I think what is more important is two things: safe space, right? A safe space to be able to debate these issues. So in a judgment-free zone. So for example, it was always very important in my class that when you speak, everybody listens, right? So we have that kind of rules, especially for CC lessons. Just because I disagree, I don't want you to be like jeering or like booing
I
somebody,
remember
right?
Yeah.
And these things were like clearly no in my classroom because your values are important to you, and I want to hear your values. I mean, I want everybody to hear your values. So that's the first one, right? A safe space. The second one is the personal attitude, right? To be wrong, to acknowledge that you don't have you don't have a complete understanding of the situation, and even at the teacher level, I also have to be very clear about this. That when I go into a CC lesson, even though I'm teaching a certain issue, even though I have a certain value, a certain belief about certain things, maybe I
Lawnmower.
okay, yeah, whether I believe even though I believe something, I cannot say that Riley, you're wrong, and because I am the teacher, I'm always correct. That's the big no. But same for the students, right? The point of hearing other perspectives is for you to recalibrate your own personal value, and that is what I hope to do, and I hope all my colleagues in MOE are doing. But this is just because of the personal. I value CC a lot, so that hence that was.
I mean, building off that, as we step into the realm of adulthood, we realize that adults don't actually know everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So I think sometimes students may have that perception.
The teachers know. Sometimes as a teacher, I like to hide behind that, right? Especially in math. If I don't know, let's say you ask a question, I don't know, you go figure it out. Right? Or I don't know how to do it. It's possible I don't know how to do the math question.
Some teachers are just like walking textbooks. So anything you ask out the box, they can answer on.
Did you have that in your class? I didn't think your teachers were like that.
I think one of them were.
Okay.
Like I remember, one classmate tested her, and then she's like, okay, he gave her a question from another school, then she's like, okay, I can't really figure this out. So,
it's possible lah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair to expect your teachers to know everything lah.
Yeah, true.
But I think it's fair to expect teachers to model the values that will help you succeed in life lah, which is to say I don't know, and then I go figure it out.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah, that's.
Got anything you add?
No, I don't think I have any more questions. Do you?
No.
I think most of the questions I want to ask has been answered.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so
no
much
worries, man.
for
It's so
taking your
fun.
time. Yeah.
Maybe you can do this again with different. Okay, no lah. I think my only value to you is a teacher, right? There's no other reason. There's no other reason for me to come by. So.
No, that's not impossible. That's not
Call you
impossible.
Mr. Amal to reteach interaction
Hey,
management.
that's
Oh,
not,
yeah, for sure.
Hey, I don't mind.
just for him, I will reteach it. Not that you are pursuing an interracial relationship, right?
No,
I think actually. It's,
But I remember the lesson was just very, very chill. Mr. Amal just sitting there and answering all the questions. But I remember, I think, I think it mattered to certain boys, the Muslim boys more, because I think they. I think they resonate with Mr. Amal a bit more.
yeah, that's. Maybe we can just do an episode about that. That's actually pretty cool if you think about it. Pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chan, for coming by, taking your time off to come on the weekend.
It's okay. This is the only time that you can catch me. Not
Not
free
wrong.
also.
Not wrong.
I'm not free on the weekdays. So.
Not wrong.
Okay. Thanks. See you next time.
Yeah. See you next time.
And
Bye bye.
video.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.